What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Elden Ring build guide. This time we got ALUCARD Dracula in a level 150 NG plus 7 build. Alright guys, I'm gonna get into the points real quick and then the items. I'm gonna try to make this as fast as I'm gonna try to explain everything as fast as I can. Vigor is at 60 because you need as much health as you can get, and it makes sense you being a vampire and all that. Mine is at 20 instead of 21. If you were level 150, it would be 20. Just to have enough to cast spells without having to worry about drinking a flask every time you cast like a spell or two. Endurance is at 20, enough to have our equip load the way it is. Strength is at 14, just enough to meet the requirements for the Godskin Stitcher. Dexterity is at 50, this is a dexterity build, that's why. Intelligence is at 18 because we want access to some spells that remind me of some of the spells Alucard used to use in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, 1997 on the PlayStation 1. Faith is at 30 so we can have access to amazing buffs such as Golden Vow and Blackstone Protection. And Arcanist is 17 because you want access to blood incantations, as it makes a lot of sense, you being a vampire and all that. Anyways, into the items now. The Bloody Blood Godskin Stitcher plus 25 with Blood Tax. This is your main spell or your main form of dealing damage and leeching your health back. It is an amazing Ash of War. And on your offhand, of course, you have another amazing Ash of War that reminds me also of a spell that Alucard used to use in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So you want both of those. This one is because of the scaling is at AA. We have access to it as well, and it weighs 0, which is perfect for this build. This one is probably one of the best staffs you can get with such a low investment into intelligence. This armor set is black and gold, which reminds me of the armor set Alucard used to wear back in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And here is where things get interesting. This is how I would keep it. Now, if you are fighting an enemy that is immune to blood loss, I would switch this one out with, let's say, Millicent's Prosthesis. However, I do not have that talisman. Yeah, you can go for other things as well. You could use this one if you'd like to increase your blood tax damage, as you will be using that quite a lot, or you can go for any of these defensive ones here depending on the boss fight. But that's about it, to be honest. And of course this one, because most bosses in this game will be dealing physical damage, so this is always a must. And BRB guys, we're gonna get into this right here. These are your defensive ones, and then BRB as in we're gonna have to rest and make this quick, and then we're gonna get into the spells, explain a few things, and then we're done. So these are your defensive ones. This is very important. I use it on many of my builds, and this one is also really useful. It makes sense to have the Crimson Bubble tier, as you being a vampire resurrecting seems like it's common sense, right? Especially with Dracula resurrecting every like 100 years or whatever it was. Otherwise, I would use this one if I'm fighting something like the Elden Beast and you need it. Or I would go for the Thorny Crack tier if I want to deal more damage. That is all I personally would go for. However, you can go for anything you would like yourself. Anyways guys, I'm gonna end it here, and where I'll be BRB, because I'm going to explain to you why I chose each single spell, not each single spell but most spells, and how they resemble spells from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the ones that Alucard used to use, of course. So guys, I wear a wolf's head sometimes because you can turn into a wolf in this game. As for the skull that you can summon as a familiar, in combination with another skill known as Summon Spirit that you'll see right here, they truly remind me of Swarm of Flies, but instead of leeching health back, they inflict blood loss. And moving on to Hellfire, it truly reminds me of Flame Fall Upon Them. You know, being the main difference is the amount of projectiles and that you are not able to teleport. However, personally I use Giant Flame Take V because of the knockback effect it has. Tetra Spirit, on the other hand, reminds me of Rancor Call or the upgraded version of it, the ancient one. And as for Rock Sling, it reminds me of this skill right here because they look like rocks coming from outer space. As for Soul Steel, well, you have the Devour Scepters, Ash of War, or you can use Blood Tax with some Talismans. Dark Metamorphosis reminds me of Blood Flame because of the red glow that you get. And in combination with each other, you can definitely leech your health back and have that red glow. So it makes a lot of sense to me. And this familiar that you can summon is a sword that protects you. It reminds me of a sorcery known as Glintblade Phalanx. You know, has the same idea. Anyways, before we start Journey 8, let's get into some lore.
Castlevania, the castle of Dracula, rumored to appear once every century, suddenly materialized from the mist, as if to show her the way. Meanwhile, powerful forces struggled for the soul of a man named Alucard. He who had once fought alongside Trevor Belmont against his own immortal father, Count Dracula himself. To purge the world of his own cursed bloodline, Alucard had submerged his vampiric powers and fallen into what was meant to be eternal slumber. But now, he awakens to the cackles of evil and cries of the innocent. The eternal battle of good and evil has come full circle once more. Dracula's castle beckons for you. And no man can say who will emerge victorious.
Cursed Alucard, you must
cross the fog to the lands between.
And so Alucard's journey began, hearing rumors that the castle of his father Dracula has appeared once again, but this time in the lands between. Alucard ventured deep into the lands, searching every castle he could set his sights on, defeating anyone who would oppose him or try to prevent him from knowing the whereabouts of his father. However, the journey of Alucard ended once he acknowledged that his father has escaped to the realm known as the Shadow of the Earth Tree. Alright everyone, lore time is over, so it is time to discuss this build now. Honestly guys, I had an amazing time playing as Alucard. Now, I'm not going to say that this is my strongest build in any shape, way or form. However, just the fact that you are able to leech your health back using blood tax makes it so OP, especially for NG plus 7 and just, you know, NG plus and beyond, where bosses hit harder, they have more health. You start really feeling like you can't just waste your flasks. You have to be very strategic and tactical. And like once you notice that, you will also realize that you can just depend on blood tax to carry you through any boss fight. Now, I'm not going to say blood tax is so OP because it does have some flaws, and like the two major flaws that I can see is the fact, number one, that it has such a long animation. Number two, which is connected to number one, is that you cannot cancel that animation. You cannot roll out of this animation at any point. You are stuck in that animation, and it's a long animation. So it's either they need to like speed up the animation, or they need to give us the ability to cancel the animation at any point. Of course, as long as we have enough stamina to do so. Moving on, as you can see, I deleted Margit, Godric, Malenia, sorry, I was going to say Malenia, Renella's first phase, Renella's second phase. Look at that, already half health. As you can see, bleed again. It's just so easy. If you can get close to her, you'll be able to destroy her so fast. And if you want to avoid being interrupted, here's something that I didn't do myself, but I wanted to. Unfortunately, I never really did because of equip load issues. And I just would rather have the glint plate phalanx since it makes more sense. I've explained why already. If I'm role playing, of course. But you can, have a weapon in your offhand and use the Ash of War Endure, and that will prevent anyone from canceling you out of your blood tax animation, which is really great. But I didn't do that because, again, equip load issues, and I wanted to use Glint Blade Phalanx because when you combine both of them together, it becomes a really dangerous combination, and you can stagger and just stance break most enemies quite easily. So that is something else I don't really do a lot of, like barely. That's simply due to the fact that I just enjoyed blood tax and just like depending on my melee attacks more than anything else. And I didn't want to use Endure other than equip load issues is due to another fact, which is that it makes you a lot more reckless in your fight. You don't really care about, taking damage as much because you think you can just endure everything. And that's not smart because endure doesn't mean you won't die. And so that's another thing. It makes you, like I said, a lot more reckless, which means you'll be less tactical and you'll probably end up dying more unless you're fighting some pushover boss that you can stagger and push back really easily when you use your blood tax. Anyway, so as you can see, General Radon, it was really nice fight. I finished him off jumping over his final attack, which is something people don't really know about. Morgoth, however, was the first boss I believe that I did not take on my first attempt. All the first starter bosses all the way up to General Radon all died on my first attempt, except for this guy here, and then every other boss after Monk also never died on my first attempt, unfortunately. It takes a while for you to learn this build because of the long animation that you always get. So you're stuck in. Here, I got stuck in his foot. Look at that, guys. That was some bullshit. Anyways, because of that long animation, you really have to start, using it a lot and figuring out when is the best time to use it, when is the best time to avoid it, when is the best time to go for, Swarm of Flies, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, and with your other incantations, or even Rock Sling. Rock Sling performed amazingly against Dragon Lord Placidusax. However, there's some bad news about that fight. I will tell you about it when the time gets to it. Anyways, here you can inflict blood loss, of course, on this guy. You can even break his stance if you are consistent with your damage, and you use Glint Blade Phalanx. As you can see, stance broken right there, and you don't really have to worry too much as long as you're not getting hit too often. You can always bleach your health back. Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is so OP as well. As you can see, if you spam it often, it will stance break big bosses really fast, especially if you combine it with a Rock Sling, something I did when I fought Ancient Dragon Placidusax, however you want to pronounce that. Anyways, getting back to Fire Giant again, as you can see, because the animation of blood tax is so long, he kept rolling over me, dealing damage to me multiple times. However, if you position yourself in such a way where when he rolls, he won't hit you, then it wouldn't be such a big issue. So keep that in mind. And however, I just depended on my Ancient Dragon, to be honest. Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike to deal most of the damage for me, as blood tax was barely dealing damage to him here, and was also just taking long to cast. So I go for the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, and when he barely had health, I finished him off. Blood Tax, because it made sense. Now, the most annoying fight in the entire fucking playthrough, guys, is the Godskin duel. These Godskin assholes are annoying, super annoying, because of Blood Tax's long animation and the fact that you can cancel it, like I've been mentioning so many times. Makes it really hard when you fight two enemies, because like even like it was already hard enough to figure out, you know, when to use it when you were fighting just a single enemy. So fighting two enemies here was just annoying. So I depended on Swarm of Flies, Glintblade Phalanx, as you can see, and of course Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. This destroyed them for me. You just hide behind the pillars, and if you time it right, you can fully charge it. If you notice them getting really close, then you should just, you know, just quick cast it, or quickly cast it rather. And here, as you can see, I roll through his rolling attack, reposition myself really quickly so that I can abuse Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, so much so that I end up dealing massive damage to him and killing him before I turn around and focus on his friend here and just finish the fight. So Mog Lord of Blood thought he's the real Lord of Blood, so I came to show him who's the real boss. I am the son of Dracula, you fool. How dare you call yourself Lord of Blood? I thought, you know, that he was Dracula, or ALUCARD thought it was Dracula, or however you want to see it. But the point is, he came here to teach Mog a lesson and not to steal his father's name, because his father's title was Lord of Blood. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense, right? Dracula to be called the Lord of Blood. Anyways, here I was surprised when I just broke his stance using that incantation of Blood Flame. It was, I didn't think it would break his stance, to be honest, but it did, and it was really nice to know that. However, when he was transitioning, I didn't record that because I was just like trying to reapply buffs and just make sure that I am ready for his second phase. And this boss fight wasn't that bad, but especially phase 1 was really easy. Phase 2 is where it got kind of annoying, and I swear like I died quite a lot. I mean like 10 times or something, to like 10 tries or something. So it wasn't, you know, that hard, but it wasn't my easiest playthrough, or wasn't my easiest monk fight. For example, like it was with the Raw and Radical, which downed this boss on his first attempt in the previous playthrough. Anyways, after taking care of Mug, we moved down to Loretta. Now I decided to take on Loretta, or Mug, and Malenia as well, before going and finishing off Malekith, just to make sure that I can take out the most two annoying bosses in the game, which is probably Mug and Malenia. And here, as you can see, guys, I performed really well against Loretta. She didn't stand much of a chance. It took a few tries, that is true, but again, just to learn, you know, when to use Blood Tax and when to avoid using it and all of that. And of course, I did spam Swarm of Flies here quite a lot. It did help me a lot here against Loretta and against Malenia's second phase, which you'll see soon enough. Other than that, I really had fun fighting Loretta for some reason, more than most other builds. This one and probably the Raw and Radical were probably the two that I had the most fun doing, and even probably the Death Dancer. Anyways, guys, it's just, this game is really great. It gives you lots of options and lots of tools to take care of your foes for you. And after finishing off Loretta, I show respect to Malenia because she doesn't use any spells in her first phase. I decided like I'm not gonna use any offensive spells as well. Um, and it was a sword fight the entire way through. Of course, I do use like Black Flame's protection and like just buffs generally speaking, in both phases. And other than that, though, it was just a pure, straight-on sword fight. Show her respect since she is pretty much she masters the blade. I don't know. I mean, they all use blades really, but like you feel like she uses the blade in such a manner that like she understands the blade. Unlike, for example, General Radon, who just is like more savage in his way of fighting. So I really enjoyed this fight here. As you can see, blood tax without even using endure is so OP. If you use endure here on your offhand with blood tax, you will destroy Malenia quite easily, because most of your attacks interrupt, they stagger her, and if you do them consistently enough, you'll probably be able to break her stance. I did not do that, but I'm sure you can, especially if you combine it with some jump attacks. Anyways, phase 2 is when I start using Swarm of Flies. It's the only spell that I use just to like deplete her health. She has such a large health pool, and it's so useful that even when she uses her attack here where she summons clones of herself, you're gonna see it pretty soon. The blood loss, she suffers blood loss like towards the end of her animation, and it cancels her last attack, which you're about to see right now, I believe. Right, yeah. So as you can see, I just spam Swarm of Flies, and now she goes for it. I keep running, she summons a few images, and bam. You see that, guys? She went back down, she flew back down. If you inflict blood loss or frostbite on her, it will cancel the animation of most of her most powerful attacks, if not all of them. And here I finish her off with some blood loss with the Swarm of Flies. This is the unfortunate thing, guys. I forgot to record this fight. I am very disappointed, but I do promise you I spammed Rock Sling and Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike so much so that I staggered Dragon Lord plus Sudasax twice in his first phase and 0 times in his second phase. But I'm just trying to demonstrate to you how it went down. This is the best I could do, and even now I'm gonna show you the last second or two where I realized that I did not record. As you can see now, the runes are still counting, but whatever. I decided to make it up to you guys by fighting Estelle Stars of Darkness because I felt bad. I didn't just want to let it go. Like, alright, I'll come take on this creature, which is, I mean, Estelle to me is not harder than Dragon Lord plus Seducex. It's not. I think it's weaker. But, and like there are 2 of them, you got a Natural Born of the Void, but you do not get 2 Dragon Lord plus Seducex. So, unfortunately, it is what it is, guys. I'll make sure I don't do it again, I hope. I'll try my best at least. But this fight was interesting because I do show you what I did pretty much against Dragon Lord plus Seducex, which is to I did not really inflict blood loss on Dragon Lord because I didn't go for that. I was just focusing on using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, as you can see here, and combining it with a lot of Rock Slings. Because again, if you combine those 2 together, you will realize that you will be breaking the stance of any boss. It's just really hard to pull off because you kind of sometimes have to fully charge the spells. Well, at least the Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, you cannot charge a Rock Sling. So yeah, but as you can see, this is exactly what I did to Dragon Lord plus Sudasex. except I was dealing way more damage with a Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, because it deals, I believe, 30% more damage to dragons, and this one receives, I think, 20 to 30% more damage from gravity spells, which I was only using Rock Sling. I only had 18 strength. 18 intelligence, so I wasn't dealing any real damage with it, even though I did finish Vanilla off with a Rock Sling, which was nice. However, here I finish it off with a Blood Loss, and then after I felt better about the fact that, you know, I didn't record Dragon Lord Placidus X fight. I came to finish off the Beast Clergyman, aka Malenia, and I enjoyed this fight also quite a lot, especially Phase 2. Phase 1 wasn't as exciting, but it was fun nonetheless. A lot of close moments, and you know, it was pretty heated, I would say. But Phase 2 got really hectic. You're all about to see what happens in the second phase. As soon as I get, I believe, 1 or 2 more attacks in. But Phase 1, as long as you're careful again, you know the mechanics, you're good to go. Here is where things got interesting. I almost died right here. This was like the craziest moment throughout the whole fight, which was pretty much the beginning of the fight. And then I just rely on Blood Tax to carry me through. Every time I cast Swarm of Flies, it, you know, makes him attack. It does that to a lot of bosses. When they see you cast a spell, they react to it pretty much. So if you cast it from far enough, he usually runs in and swings his swords like that. He swings in his sword and he attacks with it twice. As long as you keep an eye out and you know how to position yourself, those are pretty much free attacks. And here, when he does that spinning attack, just try to get behind him to get in every hit. And again, you have to know the mechanics of the boss fight, guys, because I had someone ask me before, like, you know, they were level 150 as well. They had pretty good gear and stuff. They were farming runes, lots of them, and they asked me like, how do you know, have an easy time against bosses? Like, they struggled even, like, you know, after obtaining everything that they needed. And the key is that you have to be willing to die again and again and again and be okay with it, because it's a learning process. And like, these things have to turn into like muscle memory. Like, you have to like instinctively, you know, react to the boss fight, to the, you know, mechanics of the boss. And once you reach that point, that's when the game gets a lot easier. But it takes a while to reach that point. You have to be patient, you have to enjoy the process and the journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey more than it is about the destination. Because if you enjoy the journey, the destination will feel that much nicer. But if you want like instant gratification, it's pretty hard to gain that in this game unless you need specific builds where you like one-shot the boss, then maybe you can get that. But other than that, if you want to enjoy fighting every boss, actually fighting them and giving them a fighting chance, then it's a bit different. Anyways, guys, so as you saw, the old man, I took him out pretty quickly. He wasn't that tough. And I moved on to Godfrey. Godfrey here, see what I mean? I know how to position myself so well that I'm not even rolling with, I'm just standing behind him. And I know exactly when to attack him and when not to attack him. Now, I don't know how to react like perfectly, but here, as you can see, I didn't have a choice. Like, I wanted to roll out of the way at the very end, but I couldn't. Like, I needed an extra second where I was stuck in that jump attack animation, so not much I could have done about it. But it was really nice that I was still able to critically hit him. I was able to get the critical hit off despite being hit by, you know, his earth shock earth shock, shockwave attack, whatever you want to call it. In his phase 2 he does get annoying, so I sneak in some melee hits when I can, and then I do rely a little bit on some of my incantations, like Swarm of Flies. I also rely a little bit on Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, but I do use Giant Flame, Take Thee here to finish him off. Now this is due to one main reason is I barely used any of my fire spells throughout the whole fight. And even though Radagon is weak to fire, you can't really cast spells on that guy. He'll just like deflect him and shoot like lasers and lightning bolts back at you. So this was my last chance to make the spell shine. And I decided to take advantage of it because I used the Rock Sling again against Dragonlord Placidusax, Placidusax. I used, of course, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. Doesn't need me to, like, you know, it's just so good that I don't really have to show you how good it is, guys. And this was like the only spell just to show you, like, even with 30 faith, you can, you know, depend on your incantations. Your spells, again, that we have, Rancor Call and Rock Sling, are there just for the poison damage. That's it. Here, once we take care of Godfrey, this is the only fight against Radagon right here where I do not edit any of the fight. Now, it is not a flawless victory. However, I do break Radagon's stance twice, once in his first phase and once in his second phase. And I do not use any healing, as in no Crimson Flasks whatsoever. So this is just to show you how strong Blood Tax truly is. So as you can see, in the beginning I'm not taking any real damage here, so I rely on jump attacks and I use normal attacks in between when I feel like I don't really have a big opening and I just want to like get an extra hit in. You go for normal attacks. When you know he's going or when you know you are going to have a big opening, you go for a jump attack. In combination with each other, you should easily be able to break his stance. Now phase 1, flawless, he doesn't really get to hit me. Now he starts getting mad and he starts like being more aggressive and uses like, you know, new abilities. Here, as you can see, he barely hits me. This is where I get hit. I wanted to avenge myself with a jump attack. He hits me again. However, I eventually time his little grab attack there and go for a blood tax. Now, as you can see, there are specific openings here, like this one, where you can use blood tax quite a lot. And this, of course, is a big chance for you to capitalize on some blood tax, and then you roll out of the way from his final attack and you go for blood tax again. And as you can see, what do you know, guys, we're at full health once again. And if you're at full health, do not use blood tax. You'll just be wasting your FP for no good reason. Just like use normal attacks, which is what I've been doing. Jump attacks or normal attacks, because that will help you break the boss's stance. And once you do that, you get back to doing it all over again. Alright, only when you receive damage, that's the only time where you're allowed to use blood tax. If you want to save your flasks and you want to like just use them when you feel like you really need to. As you can see here, he hits me one more time, so I feel like now if I want to go back to full health, I have to take a Cerulean Flask. And as you can see, guys, as a way to testify that blood tax will carry me through, I had 11 Cerulean Flasks, meaning I only had 3 or 4 Crimson Flasks. That's how strong this blood tax Ash of War is. And finally, when I take him out, I get 3 buffs off. So if you do them immediately, you'll get 3 buffs off before you even see the Elden Beast. And here, the Elden Beast again, guys, I'm going in with barely any Crimson Flasks. taking out the Elden Beast. Here I do spam blood tax even when I have full health, just simply due to the fact that I went to the fight like with like 10 flasks, cerulean flasks, and I just felt quite confident in my ability to take him out. So as you can see, guys, I'm just smashing him really easily, and just like, sure, I'm taking some hits here and there, but guess what? I can, as long as it's not like, lethal or very dangerous, or I'm like, down to like 20-25% of my health, I probably would just continue fighting him and trying to leech my health back using blood tax. I do use the Crimson World bubble tier here so I could focus on attacking him instead of trying to avoid these dumb little particles that hit me. I try to like attack you. And as you can see, guys, the fight is almost over here, so we're gonna end it now. I hope you enjoyed watching ALUCARD Dracula's build guide. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And of course, I'm gonna catch you all in the next one. And so, after defeating all those who stood in his way in the search of his father Dracula, ALUCARD has finally come to terms with himself and realized that he must become the Elden Lord, for it is the only way to prevent Dracula from ever returning to the lands between. So ALUCARD took it upon himself to make sure that he becomes the protector of the lands between.